Hello, YouTube. David Brown here. Keller Williams Realty, Greater Rochester, here in the state of New York. I'm a real estate salesperson that helps people buy, sell, and invest in real estate. As always, I am here to provide information on a subject. Every video obviously is on a different subject. Most subjects are going to be on titles that you have asked me to cover. And today's subject is certainly one of those, and most likely the most popular subject that people want to hear about, and that is foreclosures. And I'm going to look at my notes here. So just to kind of highlight a few areas I'm going to discuss. One is the time frame of process from, basically how long does it take for a home to get on the market? Is there value in foreclosures? Is it worth it? And what are the risks? Okay. And, you know, in recent, over the past couple of years, we've had very few, if any, foreclosures for the mere fact that there has been a eviction moratorium that has prevented not only landlords from evicting tenants, it's also prevented banks from being able to evict homeowners that are non-paying, right? And while I believe that most foreclosures will be able to be diverted because homeowners will, in this market, be able to sell their way out of it, uh, the ones that will not, I believe that most of the majority of the foreclosures that we'll be seeing will be rental properties, landlords that have just gotten too far into the whole when it comes to tenants not paying. And when banks are able to start moving forward, a lot of these properties will likely it'll just not be worth it to fix up or whatever, and they won't be able to sell for what they owe on it or whatever. So that's just my belief. So anyway, the first bullet point, so to speak, is time frame of the process, right? Generally speaking, it takes on average, I would say, 2 years for a bank, at least a big bank, to be able to foreclose on a home. Okay, so for 2 years on average, a homeowner can not be paying their mortgage before they're physically removed, okay, by the courts. In this time frame, you have to understand that there's a lot of emotions, a lot of anger, a lot of just a lot of sadness, a lot of personal life things going on, and every situation is different. And oftentimes, that leads people to damage a home. Okay. And in addition to damaging the home, if you're going to be losing your home, you're most likely not going to be updating the home. You're not going to be repairing things as it comes up. So, by the time the bank takes over, oftentimes there's a lot of extensive work that needs to be done to that home. Now, throw in the fact that on average, it takes the bank, again, big banks, approximately 4 years to actually foreclose. Okay, so that is a total of 6 years that a home is ultimately not being taken care of, loved on, and all that stuff, right? And a foreclosure for on average 4 years goes without utilities, okay, no electricity, no heat, no plumbing. Oftentimes foreclosures have pipes that burst because it might take the bank a little while to get someone out there to winterize the property, and maybe it's in the middle of January, and those 2, 3, 4 weeks has created a pipe to burst, that's created lots of water, that's created, a lot of mold. I would say probably 90% or more of foreclosed homes have some form of mold in it, oftentimes minor, and sometimes it's very, they have you sign off on a health and safety waiver saying that you won't hold them accountable for getting sick if you enter the property and you get sick from any of the environment. So anyway, process is approximately 6 years on average. Okay. Now, is there value in foreclosures? There can be, right? It depends on individual. Uh, individual knowledge. For example, if you are an investor, if you are handy, if you have someone that a family member that is handy, that can do a lot of the work on the cheap, there can be more value. And at the same time, if you know nothing about how to repair houses, and you don't have a plumber or electrician or anything like that in the family, the work can add up, right? So, if you buy a home for 200,000, or buy a house that's worth 200,000, and you buy it for 100,000, it might be worth it. You might have value there, if you can do the work for $30,000, $40,000, right? Now, there's a lot of hidden behind the scenes issues. Okay, for example, like I mentioned, there is no utilities on for at least 4 years, I would say, in most cases. And because there's no utilities on, you can't have an inspector inspect the electrical. You can't have an inspector inspect the plumbing. In some cases, the bank will allow you in there, but oftentimes you can't do it. Not only will the bank not allow you, sometimes the utilities have been turned off for so long. Some municipalities require the fire chief to go in and be present while the utilities are being hooked up. Now, as a buyer, you have to pay for all that, right? And then you have to pay for it to be, winterized once again if you have it de-winterized. So, very rarely, in my experience, do foreclosures ever get an inspection. And in addition, it comes with tremendous behind the scenes risk, right? I say that because in this market, a normal sale, most cases are not getting a home inspection, right? At least in our area. There's so much competition, 30, 40. I think I saw the other day a house got 65 offers on it, right? So the be able to even be in the running, you waive inspection. So, but with a foreclosure, there's just so much more risk, potential risk for the average person to take on that risk. Usually, people decide no. At the same time, it is an opportunity to potentially get in and get some instant equity. Risks. I kind of already said it. There's a lot of behind the scene risks. You can't, in most cases, turn the utilities on to be able to know if things are working. Things haven't been operable for 4 to 6 years. And, there's a good chance there's going to be a risk. And all these risks come to an unprecedented amount of unknown costs. Okay. Foreclosures come in as is, where is condition. That means you are assuming that property as it is. Okay, the bank has never physically been there. The bank has never been on the property. They're not going to be able to disclose anything to you. They don't know of any issues, and you're assuming that as is. And one thing that a lot of people don't realize is water comes with the property, right? It transfers with the property. Where in a normal sale, the seller will guarantee through the attorney uh, the payment of that. Okay, at least in most cases here in New York State. Again, that's a potential legal question, so I would advise you to speak to an attorney on that. But from my experience, that's how it is. However, with a foreclosure, water transfers with the property. So you have the utilities turned on, then you get that water bill. Oftentimes it's a couple $100. Okay, and you're getting $200,000 home for $100,000. Not bad. Okay, it might be a couple $1,000s, might be more, right? And it's still worth it, right? I mean, assuming you're going to be able to get the house fixed up properly for a lot less money, it might be worth it to you, right? That couple $1,000s is still is okay because it's part of the unknown cost, right? Or risk, and it's just important to realize that. As far as is it worth it? That's really your decision, and every situation is different. I always tell people when looking for foreclosed homes, there's going to be a lot of unknowns, but we can physically look at the property and kind of at least get a visual of, is there anything like really, really obvious, right? We just want to kind of comb the house a little bit more, perhaps, than right normally, just to make sure. because it has been inhabitable for a while, and you just want to take a look, a little bit more. And while I'm not an inspector, I, just like you, have eyes, so we can kind of look around and kind of see if we can see anything that's completely obvious. So anyway, I'm trying to keep these videos to a minimum. That is a little bit on foreclosures. In the end, I would say foreclosures aren't really much different than a regular sale. As far as the sale process, is really no difference. The bank will have you sign off on a lot of um, bank paperwork. Most of them are disclosures. I'm not an attorney. I don't physically necessarily review those with you, but anything here in New York State, everything is non-legally binding until you speak with your attorney and your attorney gives their approval. So that's something that the attorney reviews with you, goes over with you. That's your opportunity to speak to the attorney on any potential concerns you may have, whatnot. As a real estate salesperson, I just need to be careful of staying in my lane, so to speak, and not crossing what's called that corporate veil. So, I always defer those legal questions over to your attorney. And yeah, there is a process for that. So, it's something to keep in mind. So, that being said, I want to thank you for listening in. I hope that you found some value in that. If there's any specifics that you are hoping to hear today that you have not heard in this video, please feel free to reach out to me. Let me know. I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you and around those questions and help guide you through the process if you ever get to the point where you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. Okay. And until the next video, I want you to know that I'm always rooting for you, and cheers.